I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame. Though it might be nice to own a jet plane, I'ma do it all for you. Come along and see it's true, but the world is pretty cold. You might need a sweater too. I'ma put a ride on ya. Kid from California, trying to make it in life. In school they never taught ya. Dreams of my own, I've been working from home. I can do it on my own, but sometimes it gets cold like.
So today we are in a 1995 Toyota Supra. This is like every 90s boy and older adults too, like this is like their dream car. This was like the car that changed the game. And I'm driving it right now. And I'd be lying to you. I'd be lying to you if I wasn't full of butterflies. And this grin is gonna be here the whole entire time, so just deal with it. Now, a lot of people don't really know what made this car such a turning point in car history. Holy shit. Okay. All right. Oh my God. Woo. Okay. So this car was a turning point in all of car history. Now, this car, believe it or not, was a big deal before 2001 Fast and Furious came out. Yes, Paul Walker made this car pretty much the icon that it is today, but it already had that amazing car, like hero car before that movie was out. Now, what kind of made that to be is this 2J motor, which is in this car, was made pretty much in response to Nissan's RB26 motor. Whoop. And they did it right. Once that boost hits, you're flying. Okay. Woo. So, like I said, this 2J was pretty much in response to the RB26 that Nissan came out with. But what makes this 2J so special, which a lot of people don't really, they say, oh, a 2J, oh my God, a 2J, you should put a 2J in this, put a 2J in that, but they don't really know what makes the 2J so notorious. Now, the 2J has an iron cast bottom block, which is stupid strong. Especially in today's time, you don't really see production cars being made with iron cast. Yes, it's heavy, but the trade-off with it being really heavy is that it's super durable. Also, the time that the 2J came out, it was twin turbo, and it used a sequential turbo setup. So basically what that means is there's two turbos. Typically sequential, there's a smaller turbo and a larger turbo, but Toyota decided to use two equal-sized turbos. That one turbo came on around 1800 RPM to build up boost, and then when you get into the higher RPMs around 4000, the second turbo came on, which was just like wham, we're here. And that's kind of like where this car really stood out from, is I really took advantage of the sequential, because you didn't see that very often, because it was often a clunky design and it wasn't really there yet, but Toyota really kind of perfected that. Besides the sequential turbo setup, it was an inline 6 3-liter rather than a V6. Now, what's the benefit of that is, when you have an inline, instead of using the V-shaped motor, the inline helps keep a lot of the displacement going all over the place, which basically allows for to rev higher, smoother, and quicker and safer, which that was a huge plus that you didn't really see that often at that time. Again, this car is 20 years old. This car is from 1995. This car is as old as me. And that technology was just like groundbreaking. A stock Supra Turbo back in the day did a 0 to 60, I think it was like 4.6 seconds, which was ridiculous. But what makes this Supra so special is that the owner, Derek, bought it naturally aspirated. This car was basically swapped 2J that was imported. And also, instead of keeping that sequential turbo setup, he decided to go with a single turbo, which is a 71R, which is pretty massive. And also, to add to that, it's a ball bearing, which spooling is much quicker. That means that the transmission is also swapped. So we're in an aftermarket 5-speed transmission. That's when I asked him, well, why didn't you just get the stock 6-speed that was in a Supra? Well, those are stupid expensive, because now Supras have turned into this almighty hero car. So it's just a lot of times easier now. I mean, it's not cheap. It is not cheap, but it's cheaper to do it aftermarket. So this transmission in this car is from an MkIV Supra, and it's an R154 transmission, which they can easily handle up to 800 horsepower. And like, just going back to talking about the engine, like the iron cast, like these cars may be saying, you know, how is it able to handle so much power? How can Supras handle so much power? The build quality back in the day was unreal, and people easily run 500, 600 horsepower on all Supras, on the 2Js. And it's pretty much all due to that iron cast bottom end. They're so tough. A car being from 1995, this car weighs about 3,400 pounds, which, yeah, in today's standard is kind of heavy, but 20 years ago, that was pretty unreal. Toyota did a lot of designing in this car to make sure that it is light to compete with things like the NSX, the RX-7, the 300 twin turbo. And they did little things like getting rid of the telescoping steering rack. They did hollow fiber like carpeting. They did hollow like head bolts on places other than the engine. They even did things like not including dual exhaust, which were super hard at the time. They stuck with this as a single outlet just to reduce weight. And because of that, it reduced the center of gravity by 1 inch of what they originally had planned, which makes this car really, like, for the time, a really good handling car. And I believe that it pulls a G of 0.95, which again, at that time is just epic. And you can just hear around 4,000, the turbo pulls up, and then the wastegate just whap. You never forget what you're driving to. And when you're looking down at this car, like everything, and everybody knows this in a Supra, is everybody relates back to it. Everything is driver oriented. This is one of the first cars that was really like, this is a driver's car. The passenger doesn't get to see shit. Like, this is 100% for the driver. Everything is towards you. It reminds me of an S2K, but kind of S2K got it from the Supra. Everything's towards you, and it's really simple. And also the tach is right in the middle too. The speedometer's off on the right. It's almost like saying, just pay attention to shifting, pay attention to shifting. The speed, that doesn't matter. Don't worry about the speed, worry about shifting. Because race car. Because at the time, this car was designed to be a streetable race car. And that's exactly what Derek did after doing all of his swapping. He said, yeah, I mean, it's running relatively low boost. I could easily make this car hundreds of like horsepower faster, but the streetable aspect is what he wanted to keep, and keep the integrity of the car, keep the original personality, which he did really well. I was a little intimidated to drive this car. I mean, it's a Supra. I mean, I'm wearing my Paul Walker shirt. This was the Paul Walker car. I mean, I'm driving like the infamous scene. Hey man, what's the retail on one of those? Ferrari, more than you could afford, pal. Smoke them. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. But the more I'm driving it, it's like hey, it's like the car knows I'm a car enthusiast. And he just wants me to have a good time. Oh, and the brakes too. The brakes at the time that this car came out, and this is on stock brakes, were phenomenal. I believe the 70 brake test on this was around 145, which set the record in car and driver and wasn't beaten until 2004, when I believe it was the Carrera GT that broke that record. I mean, this car at the time just broke a whole tons of records and was about $40,000 when the turbo came out. Foot in, and then that turbo's just like, hey, how's it going? Let me slap you in the face. Oh man, it's no wonder why like this car is just like everywhere. Like everybody wants this car, and it looks good for being 1995. I mean, it kind of looks like an F40. Like, before you scold me for me saying that, just look at the front. Look at the way the headlights look at the way the front little grille looks. Look at the duct brakes on the sides. I'm not the first person to say that, and if you kind of look at the car with that kind of lens, you kind of see it. And also with the big spoiler in the back, it's like a halo. It's like your special. It's like a little angel driving around. It's like a little halo over your head, because you can't miss it. You can't miss it. That's the one thing that the Supra is, just the big wang. Oh man. And it's not that hard to drive. Get on the brakes. Accelerate through the corner. I can't help but feel like a little kid. I can't help, it brings me back. Like, driving this car just brings me back. This car makes me feel like I'm in like I'm in second grade again, watching Fast and Furious, stealing the movie because my parents didn't want me seeing street racing. It's like I went downstairs, stole the movie from the DVD shelf, and I'm popping and I'm watching it all over again. But I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm Paul Walker and I have Vin Diesel sitting in the passenger seat telling me to smoke them. Oh my God! I can't help it. I can't help it. I can't even. Downshift into second gear, 4,000. That's where the turbo hits. It's like wham. All right, guys. Well, sadly, this Supra review is coming to an end. I want to thank Derek so much for letting me drive this car. And guys, Derek owns a shop that works on cars. It's called D Automotive. I'll link it down below, and that's where this car was built. So guys, if you're local to San Diego and you want your car worked on by someone who knows what they're doing, be sure to check out D Automotive. This was a dream come true for me, so I hope you guys enjoyed watching it because I have been waiting for this moment for a very long time, and I'm happy because of the support from you guys, we were able to achieve it. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.
Motivation is contagious. Hang out with those who inspire you and strive not to be like them, but only a better version of yourself. You will learn that there is a difference between alone and lonely. Life isn't always easy, but that's the beauty. You will learn how to be truly happy, and as much as you don't want.
Liking it is an understatement.
Love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
So good. Oh, it's so good.